So this is some crazy news coming out of Malaysia. FIFA has just sanctioned Malaysia for using doctor documentation to get 7 players eligible for Malaysia to play for their team. And that is just absolutely preposterous. And I'm going to give you guys my opinion on it. I'm going to read the media release and whatnot and all the official details that we have so far of this situation. So make sure to stick around for that. But of course, let me know in the comments down below how you feel about this entire situation. Make sure to do it because I want to hear you guys what you are thinking about this. So let me quickly read to you guys what FIFA are officially saying about the situation. Now, they have imposed sanctions on the FAM, the Football Association of Malaysia, like I said, and 7 of its players. Now, the players that are being affected by this, 7 players again: Aroca, Garces, Olgado Machuca, Figueredo Irargi, and Serrano, are 7 players that have been sanctioned by FIFA for breaching Article 22 of the FIFA Disciplinary Code, the FDC, concerning forgery and falsification. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, this is absolutely insane, right? Malaysia had 7 random South American players all of a sudden join their team. Things like that are not the most uncommon. We see mass exoduses of players joining teams or leaving their original countries to join these teams before. It happens. That is a scouting push. That it happens all in one time just because it's easier. You focus on that, right? But this was kind of weird, right? With a lot of these teams, you can see and hear a lot of rumors and leaks. Hey, this guy's trying to apply for citizenship or for his passport and whatnot. We've seen that with Mason Greenwood for Jamaica for a long time. We know it's in the works, right? So when it does officially happen, we know that they've gone through the perfect channels. It's completely eligible. There's nothing wrong with it by the time they make their debut for said team. What's weird about this Malaysian team, right, and these 7 players is I feel like I didn't hear any of that. I feel like you didn't hear any of these. Hey, by the way, there's 7 players trying to join Malaysia. Keep an eye out for that. Not officially announced by Malaysia, whatever, but it has been, in the works, and they're going to join pretty soon. No, it feels like these 7 players were just like almost transfers in club level, and they were just kind of like, hey, by the way, we have these players now. They're going to make their debut, and then very quickly after that announcement, the window would come, and they would make their debut right away to kind of very quickly bypass this whole period of looking into by investigators and whatnot. That was always very weird to me about Malaysia, but you kind of start like, okay, whatever. But this makes way more sense, is the fact that they were not eligible at all, or that there's some mix-up or whatever. I don't know. But Malaysia have come out and said that it was a clerical error almost, an administrative error almost. That's still super weird to me. Super, super weird to me. And I don't fully think that that's the case. I think Malaysia are lying at least a little bit, if I'm being fully honest. And there's without a doubt, in my opinion, a sense of guilt and a sense of responsibility that needs to be taken by Malaysia here, because this is obviously, you've done something wrong. It's obviously illegal and you shouldn't be able to do this. Now, what does all this mean? Obviously, Malaysia are trying to get Asian Cup 2027 qualification. They're trying to get into the next World Cup, which they're slowly preparing for now. Obviously, they can't make this one, but maybe in 2030 they might be able to, and that's why they're getting ready for that now. But more importantly, Asian Cup qualification. We're 2 matches in to the round 3 of Asian Cup qualification. If you guys know, they're in Group F. They're with Vietnam, Laos, and Nepal. And before this started, before all this, you would assume that they would have finished at least top 2 and really fight for that number 1 spot to get out, right? But they're sitting on top with 2 wins and 6 points. The way they got here, right, was a 4-0 win against Vietnam. And that was shocking in itself, because Vietnam and Malaysia are pretty good, almost even teams. I would almost put Vietnam a little bit higher, so a 4-0 thrashing was a little bit weird. And all 7 of these players mentioned today played in that game. A little bit interesting, right? That is obviously a little bit weird. So now Vietnam sit with 1 win, 1 loss in second place, 3 points behind number 1 Malaysia, 5 points lower on goal difference. That's a big deal. Vietnam may not qualify beyond this round because Malaysia did this. That's why this is so important, right? So I'm very interested in seeing how this affects Asian Cup qualification. If there's a punishment, if maybe they give Vietnam the win instead, maybe they'll count it as a forfeit by Malaysia. I'm not quite sure. They haven't announced that yet, but something should happen. 7 players out of 11 that can fit on a pitch were players that have had falsified and doctored documentation to get here. That is unfair. That is unjust. Vietnam, in my opinion, deserves some repayment, some reparation from that when it looks at Asian Cup qualification, because this literally might impact them for the next 4 years until the one after. Then you have 2, how does this make Malaysia look as a country, or at least the FAM, their football association? How does this make them look? Obviously, stupid. So dumb. Now, like I said, I'm a Filipino national team supporter. I wish we were better. I wish we could pull all these players of somewhat national descent from the Philippines and bring them in because we have a big population of that, so on and so forth. Obviously, there's layers to that. It's not so simple as, hey, you come here and play. No, there's a lot of layers to that, right? And I'm not complaining about that. Yes, I want ASEAN to be better. Yes, I want Asian football to be better. But at what cost is what everybody should be asking here when it comes to this scandal. What is the point of fielding so many players that don't even really hardly relate to your team, your population, the people coming to the stands, the flag that they wear on their backs as they play against these teams? What is worth it anymore? Not this, right? Obviously, you want to be better. You want to be beating games. You're beating other opponents. You want to be beating Vietnam. You want to be beating Singapore every time. You want to be beating the Philippines. All these things, right? You do that by using your population and your domestic players. That is just the normal state of football in this area of the world. Obviously, you're going to have some dual nationals, and that's fine. But if you have those dual nationals, they need to be ones that want to play for this damn team for not selfish purposes, for the reasons of they want to improve Malaysia and they want to get Malaysia to a top spot. These players, I don't know them personally, but can I confidently say that that's what their goal is after they have doctored documentation? I cannot necessarily say that at all. No, not really. That is not the way you get to the top in international football. This is not club football. You are not Chelsea right here. You're not Chelsea. You're going to spend money willy nilly, bring whoever you want, bring players from Africa, Asia, North America, South America, Europe, all to this one spot and win. That is club football. That's what club football is for. At what point does international football slowly become club football? That is such a negative way to go. International football is its own beautiful, beautiful beast where you should not have corruption. You should not have these unfortunate circumstances that we're talking about today with Malaysia. No, you should have a group of players that want to play for Malaysia and think it's an honor, one of the honors of their lives to play for Malaysia. You should have a full squad of players that want to be playing for Malaysia and want to improve Malaysia in terms of football and in terms of your country, your GDP, I don't know, your geopolitics, I don't know. Football means a lot to a lot of people, right? It's very, very important. You should be aiming to improve Malaysia, not just going there for yourself, not going there because more eyes are going to be on you, because you might have a move to a bigger club. You might get paid more money. No, should not be the case of playing for your country. And that seems to be the case right now with Malaysia. This is embarrassing, man. This is embarrassing for everybody involved. And I will say that, yes, maybe there are some questions to be asked about FIFA as well. Because FIFA, you let this happen. You got them to the point where they were able to play a game officially. You didn't look at the documentation close enough. You had to get what I assume was a tip from people outside after all these saying, hey, look at them. You are the federation governing all this. You should be able to look at it and see that something's off. And if you can't guarantee that it's authentic in the moment, take your time and let them play those games without these players and eventually get to a point of authenticity. That's a little bit embarrassing from FIFA. And I think Malaysian people might arguably be, correctly asking that of FIFA, yes. But at the same time, it's like, why didn't you catch us earlier is a really bad argument. You shouldn't have anything to be caught with. But what kills me too is Malaysia are doing pretty good, man. Like they're in a good spot. They qualified for the last Asian Cup. Obviously, like I said, the Vietnam game is its own thing, but it's still a good result, I guess. It's still momentum. You got a draw against a top African team in Cape Verde, right? Malaysia is so obviously on the up already. You're making progress. You're taking the right steps. When it doesn't come to do nationals, you're getting results, and it looks like within the course of the next few years, you might be at a way higher position in Asian football than you are now. So what I don't understand is why do you want to outsource your talent like this? Malaysia people, you love your football. I know you do. You tell me in the comments how much you love your football because I know I see it. It's so obvious. You have such a big population as well, by the way, in Malaysia. Why do you have to pull these guys from South America to play for your team? You have a lot of talent in your country that just needs the right development, the right opportunities, but those opportunities are being taken from them by these South American teams and it's or players. And it's not the players' fault necessarily. It's the Malaysian. It's fam. It's fam asking those players to want to come over instead of these, players born in Malaysia, players who have developed in Malaysian youth systems, with that, whether that's club or country, that there's been around the country for their entire lives who want to play for Malaysia because they love Malaysia, they love what Malaysia means to them. No, instead you're trying to outsource these South American based players and play instead of them. And yeah, you're getting a couple results, but again, like I said earlier, At what cost? What does it really mean to you to win without Malaysia behind you or without Malaysian players on the pitch? And then what does this mean for the dual national scene, not just in Asia, but around the world, right? I think FIFA might even start taking to looking a little bit deeper into everybody's, which is a good thing in my opinion. Like I said, I've been saying this should not be the path to success. You should be able to look at this team and say that that is a full Malaysian team. Whether that's their parent or grandparent, that is a team that wants the betterment of Malaysia. I think FIFA are going to look at a lot of these teams and look at their dual national pool and say, okay, how realistic really are these players to be able to play for this team? It's going to be looked at by FIFA around the world, and I think we're going to see some more scandals like this over the next coming years of teams fielding ineligible players. It happens a lot, but never to this scale of this many players from Malaysia. And I think we're going to see more, like I said, in the ASEAN region, in Asia football, and around the world. And another reason why this is kind of funny is that Malaysia fans, right, Malaysians, and I don't want to attack you guys personally, but this I think needs to be laughed at. Is they really, really were against the whole Indonesia recruitment process. Like the jokes that were being made, the shit talking from Malaysians towards Indonesians, like that was kind of crazy. And hey, I might understand that if you are innocent. But then after all this, to find that you're like even more guilty in other ways than what Indonesia was doing, which is just recruiting players of Indonesian descent. How far away? At least we, as far as we know, that was fine. That was legal. That was okay. But Malaysians, you did it this in such a poor way, and obviously this is not your fault. You didn't know. You were just as fooled as all of us. But it kind of does need to be laughed at just a little bit at what the interfan relations are going to look like afterwards. I'm really interested in seeing, because that was Malaysia's biggest thing. And where do you go from here? I don't know. I guess we're going to see. But like I said, Malaysia have the talent to be at this level, to be even higher. Why go for these other players? So again, this is just a rather shocking revelation when it comes to ASEAN football, that just can't find a win here and there. Sometimes, unfortunately, ASEAN football could be better, should be better. I hope gets better. This is not the way to go, and it's one step forward, five steps back at this point with what Malaysia's doing. Right? It's a stain, is what I would say. It's a stain on Malaysian football. It's a stain on all of Asian football. And football in general, and just the way that international football is moving right now. It's unfortunate that this is what it's come to, but I'm not going to say it's not trending that way around the world. And this is just one of those things where it's very eye-opening for a lot of people. And as long as we keep our eyes open, then that's what's important. But keep an eye on this team moving forward, right? This might not be our last video regarding Malaysian football. In this context, obviously, we're going to do some ASEAN football pretty soon, Asian Cup qualification, and things like that. We're going to have some content out for you guys very, very soon. So Malaysia will be referenced. But as more information comes out, we will be doing videos for this specific controversy. So make sure to stick around for that. Make sure to leave a like if you guys are interested in seeing that, and just have some opinion on this Malaysian football, and leave a comment down below what that opinion is, and then subscribe for more AFC ASEAN football content moving forward. My name was Elijah. This was Get in Football, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Take care.